God being eternal is a really great point of contention for a lot of people. And at face value, it seems fair enough. You hear people say things like, well, if God created everything, who created God? Or where did God come from? And this is a misunderstanding of the difference between God and his being and what he created. And Genesis 1:1 lays out the building blocks that we need in order to understand the difference between God's creation and God himself, right? We as Christians don't believe God is eternal because we want to or because we make it up, but rather it's out of necessity. See, Genesis 1:1 reads, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, excuse me. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth." There are three items that inform us what it is God created. In the beginning, there was a start of time. Time started, so he created time. God created the heavens, the space, and the earth, the material, right? The space holds the material. It's time, space, and matter. He created those three things. The fact that God created time necessitates his being eternal, because time is what we are confined. We're confined to time, right? As time passes, we deteriorate, we get older, we die. It's unfortunate, but it's what happens. And with God, he created time. He has existed perpetually before time was even a thing. So if he created time, then by necessity, he's eternal because time doesn't affect him. The passage of time, decay, the second law of thermodynamics, none of this applies to him because he created all of that and he exists outside of it. There's this idea that I think people have in their heads where they conceptualize God's existence as like, this is the universe, right? And God exists in this space of the universe that we inhabit as well. And he's all powerful, he's omnipresent, so he's everywhere and he can do anything. That's not quite right. The correct way to conceptualize God's existence in relation to our universe is, here's our universe, God exists outside of it. God is not affected by time, space, and matter. But he's all powerful, all present, and all knowing. So he, if he so chooses, can step into his creation, time, space, and matter. And he does so at like the pinnacle of what it means to step into creation in the second person of the Trinity, Jesus. When he lived his life and he died and he was crucified, he steps into time and subjects himself to the constraints that we as creation are subjected to. That was necessary in order for the sacrifice to be perfect. And he had to be fully human, he had to be fully God. And that's in the gospel video I already made, so I don't want to repeat that too much in this, but just focusing on the fact that aside from the instance where God decided to step into time and allow himself to be constrained by creation for our benefit, God isn't affected by time, space, and matter, and he can manipulate it at his will if he so chooses. Thank God our God is logical and consistent, so he keeps things consistent. But I hope that this provides a different perspective as to where it is Christians get this idea that God is eternal. I mean, the Bible in and of itself, Revelation, he is the first and the last, the beginning and the end. And in Daniel chapter 7 in the Old Testament, God's reign and his kingdom endures forever. God also says, there have been no gods before me, there will never be another God after me. He's the only one true God, and he's the only God that ever has been. God's eternality is all woven throughout Scripture. So I don't think making that case scripturally is hard. It's not. It's just there's that philosophical lens that I think we don't apply when we read Scripture or when we think about God existing as eternal. It's out of necessity. But I hope that helped. Thanks.